Hello everyone, welcome again to another Teacher Joseph video clip, and we're going through my weekly lesson, which this week is called The Leak from the Bathroom Ceiling. And with the last few days we've been identifying some idioms and some different words. So yesterday we did the words in pink, I think this color is, and before that the ones in yellow were from Monday. So today we're going to carry on with some interesting phrases. So let's just read through this. It says here, interesting, I thought. I actually get to use this thing to speak to someone. And I'm talking here about my telephone when I had to call the emergency service of my landlord to look at plumbing. I dialed the number, went through the touch tone dialing system, which is how we refer to those systems where we have to press the key to get connected. Press 1 for repairs, press 2 to talk to someone, press 3 to leave a message, these kind of things. So I'm just going to choose a color for today. There we are, touch tone dialing system. Hi, how are you today? I asked after her spiel. A spiel is just a long bit of information that someone is accustomed to giving when people ask. So she gave her spiel of introduction. I think it's German, I believe. Let's see. Okay. Fine, but the weather is awful. Oh, absolutely, I replied, bringing the conversation round to my plumbing issue. This whole thing, where we talk about weather as a diversion, is referred to as small talk. And here, British people are experts at making small talk, making something out of nothing, conversations out of nothing. What's interesting here, when I start talking about my plumbing issue, is I'm using a lot of indirect communication. It seems I have a plumbing issue. It seems there is water. So we never speak directly. We never say there is, because we always give the other person the chance to disagree with us. Okay, let's see. I think I've written it here. Small talk is important. So small talk is how we make conversation about nothing. And it's very important here. Very important. Just one other issue. We're in the wrong country for good weather. She cackled. And that is referring to her laughter. If you cackle, you have a loud laugh. Like this. Okay? So that's a cackle. Let's see. So, it may be a good idea not to use your bathroom light. She was being as indirect with her communication as I was. I just knew we were going to be friends by the end of this conversation. We all know here in the UK that if you use a phrase like, it may be a good idea not to, because she's telling me not to use the light, in reality that actually means stay the hell away from the thing. Yeah, if someone says to you, it might not be a good idea to do that now, it means don't do it. If that's what the boss says. Okay, let's just continue. Yes, this part here we spoke about earlier, I think on Monday. A twinge, that's a mental pain, sometimes a physical pain, but here I'm using it, a twinge of sadness, a little moment of reflection, which made me feel quite sad. And I was referring there to how we communicate with each other, which is not very nice. Again, there seems to have been an accident. This is what I'm told I must teach people according to English textbooks. In an emergency, I'm supposed to teach people, that in an emergency they should use indirect speech. Excuse me, there seems to have been an accident. Of course, in reality, if you're in a burning building, you don't say, excuse me, the building appears to be on fire. You just run And it says here, these days, that style of language suggests incongruence. Incongruence is when two things don't come together well, such as your head and your heart. So my point here is saying this style of language suggests that we are not connected between our hearts and our heads. In an emergency, to be so polite, it sounds crazy, doesn't it? So incongruence, a bit difficult to practice that, but incongruence can be anything between your head and your heart. An incongruent behavior is when someone isn't acting according to their own principles or how they feel, maybe because they're over emotional. Right, let's just carry on to the end of this page. In this paragraph here, I was referring to the plumber. Uh, I was joking that his next career move should be in politics because of the way he handled this situation. I think the language here in this paragraph is really straightforward. So we Brits are changing, that's for sure. Many younger people are not okay with our genteel styles of communicating. Okay, that means our gentle ways, but we sometimes, when we're talking about the behavior, we refer to genteel styles of communicating. Right, I think that's probably enough for today. We have another little bit to do tomorrow, and then we'll focus on speech and intonation on Friday. So there's some things for you to review there. She cackled, perhaps, is one of the most interesting phrases there. Let's move on and do our motivational moment. Okay, so today I'm just going to ask a little bit about times that you feel incongruent. Incongruence, to use the noun, is something which is very common in British culture because of our politeness. Excuse me, would you mind calling an ambulance? There seems to have been an accident. Meanwhile, your arm is hanging off. It seems very strange to use politeness in that way. British people are trained to remain calm. So I'm wondering in what areas of learning are you incongruent? And that could mean, for example, if you are learning but you don't want to learn. So your head says, I don't want to do this. And your heart says that it does want to do it. Or maybe your heart says, oh yeah, I'd love to learn. But your head is telling you, no, 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 there's no time at the moment, there's no money to do that. So the two things conflict, but maybe you just go ahead and do it anyway without making a decision. People who make plans emotionally without considering the consequences, they could be incongruent, you know? It's basically when your head and your heart are not saying the same thing. You don't weigh up all the pros and cons. You're incongruent. So you have to be careful with that because incongruence in learning can be as a result of rage. Many people, they start to learn and then they discover that they can't or they don't have time and they get angry. And that anger can come to English lessons. They're talking to a teacher and there's a rage there. And that can come out in bad behavior, it can come out in bad words. And you might find yourself saying things like, oh, I really hate this teacher. I'm going to find a new one. Oh, I hate this grammar book. I'm going to find a new one. These kind of behaviors often come from incongruence. There's a deeper problem there that you're ignoring. It might be one of time, it might be one of money, it might be one of inability to learn, but it's incongruent. It means everything is not flowing together. And that can come out in really dysfunctional behaviors. So you have to be careful with that. So that's a question for today. In what areas of learning are you incongruent? Are you really not looking at any deeper issues that are going on? Maybe you're angry at the teacher, but you haven't told them. Maybe you're angry at life, but you haven't dealt with it. Maybe your head says you want to learn, your heart says you want to learn, but you know that you can't because your boss has something else for you to do. These are all things for you to think about. Right, that's it from me today. I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll be back tomorrow and we'll go over the remainder of these things because we should really read a little bit more. Yeah, these paragraphs are quite long, so it's been a little bit challenging this week. And that's it from me. So see you again soon. Bye.